Some days ago, I was watching a video on some random channel, and now I wish that I would have saved A, the comment I saw, and B, which video it came from. But it had to do with oversharing. The creator of the video was discussing the many ways that they feel social media has become an oversharing ground, and he was expressing how that's bad. And I could relate to some of his points, but I run a channel that's about oversharing. But at the same time, it's not like I'm telling you guys absolutely everything in detail, as I probably would with my literal journal or someone I know personally. One comment that stood out to me was that they were saying words that I have literally put out on this very channel, and that is, the problem with social media is that people use it as their personal journals. And I'm like, if you read my channel description, I don't think I've changed it, but I know in my channel description for this channel, I put something like, I speak as if I'm journaling, something like that. And I guess if this is not your genre of content, don't consume it. Because I think that some people have genuine stress as to how to process the information that they're bombarded with online. And I think that you, as the audience, need to do your work, your homework at figuring out what it is that you're looking for online, but also lower your expectations. Why would you go to, say, someone like me for advice on a legal matter? No. What you ought to do is get some kind of consultation going with an attorney in your state, something like that, just to give you a crazy example. Sometimes I feel like people want for other people to do their work for them, and you have to understand that you're not meant to have everything tailored to you. You need to do your work and find the things that are going to work for you. But I think that those are things that have been getting lost in recent times. So for me, online, the element that I find might be oversharing would be if you're actually name dropping and actually describing events that may portray something in a very severe negative light. I would never tell you guys about an actual fight that I may have had within my relationships. When it comes to mother-daughter stuff, I may have shared some stories about the things that my mom and I may have had altercations about, but it's not like I'm focusing on just that, on just the negative elements of that. I'm just saying, hey, as a daughter, these are the things that I can say I clashed with my mom about, and who knows, maybe this helps another teenager out there to process things better with their own mother if they're going through something similar. Because we all know that mother-daughter relationships can get a little tricky on some seasons of our respective lives, but then it becomes a stronger bond. But not everybody can say that that's happening to them. My goal in a situation like that would be, just so you know, it is normal for you to have a rough relationship with your mom for a period of time. This is what worked for me, this is what didn't work for me, this is what triggered it, and this is the resource that I wish I would have had back in the day. Boom, something like that. Even if I were to have a relationship with a man that goes very, very, very bad, very, very, very sour, I may share the story of something that happened, but I wouldn't tell you guys who the perpetrator was. Like, say, maybe I can share a story of someone who was verbally abusive toward me, but I wouldn't tell you that this was a boyfriend or a parent or something like that. Maybe for parents, I can be like, I feel like I was raised under a lot of verbal abuse, but this is why it feels this way, but this is why it's actually not. Something like that. I think that oversharing becomes harmful oversharing depending on what your ultimate goal is. If you're actively trying to defame somebody or just completely badmouth somebody and therefore you're spilling the entire beans. And it is possible to identify and track down this person. I think that is the harmful part. But if you're oversharing because you're telling a story and you're letting it out and you have an audience that's legitimately providing input that is transformative for you, or maybe it doesn't even have to change your life or help you in any way. It just helps you to examine things from a different perspective. Maybe that is the tool that you need to be able to move on from something and mature in that manner. Some people out there go their entire lives processing things on their own. And because they're processing it on their own, they never grow up from that, because you're processing it by yourself, keeping it to yourself. Yourself can only take you so far, but if you put it out there, you give someone else the opportunity to examine your matter through a different set of eyes and a different brain entirely, and you might be like, okay, I can relate, I can agree, I can disagree, this is why. It doesn't have to be the person who resolves anything for you, but the sole fact that you were able to hear something that came from outside of yourself, that is a big deal. And for some people, that resource, getting it from a physical, genuine, legit, actual person, may not be possible for them. I know that for the longest time, I had nobody that I felt I could talk to. And that's why sharing some of these things became easier, putting it out there for a bunch of strangers more than discussing it with anybody in my personal circle. So that, I guess, is the element of oversharing that you can attribute to me. But at the same time, I'm telling myself, well, nobody has ever come to me to confront me about how something that I said in a video came back to them and they were affected by it and it ruined their lives or their job or anything like that. It's like, hey, I'm gonna try my best to not name drop something, but if you happen to stumble upon a piece of content and you can relate because you were there and you know it's about you, then it's your job to take your privacy and anonymity into your own hands then. Because usually I don't tend to share this story with anybody else. So you would have to self-identify to inflict that damage upon yourself. If you realize that you're the person I'm talking about, just remain anonymous. You don't have to come out here and identify yourself. You may present your point, your counterpoint, if there is one, as, oh, in that situation, this is what I think. This is what I would have reacted with, or anything like that. But if you go out of your way to identify yourself as part of the story, to me, that tells me that you are looking for attention, you want that attention, and that it is important for you that people know who you actually are, even though I have never revealed your identity. And I'm doing that for a reason. I'm doing that to protect you. But you're not helping me protect you. I need to help myself, which is I need to share this story, and I'm compelled, and it's for a reason. I have this resource that works for me, and I'm not going to deprive myself of that resource for your sake, especially if I'm not hurting you in any way. You will hurt yourself if you put a label on your own self. I'm doing my part. You do your part. Oversharing for me, it doesn't bother me because people out there who have overshared, I have seen their videos and I thought, wow, I'm so glad that this person did what they did, that they came forward and shared whatever they shared, because somehow I stumbled upon it and I found it useful. I found it relieving. Other times I may not find it so useful, but I thought, oh, it's nice to listen to a different perspective so that I don't have to hang out with my own self all the time. But I feel like some folks who are sensitive about people who are oversharers, you hate oversharing because you may not know how to control your impulse of being nosy and finding out what this person is saying. You may end up criticizing the delivery method or the sole fact that someone is sharing such a thing at all. You just don't know how to handle it. Just know that there's plenty of ways to make your content tailored to you. At what point do you become responsible for the things that you consume out there? If you're not about the gossip life or the critical life or the criticism life, anything like that, just stay away. Don't consume it. Hang out on the Marvel threads or hang out on the video game threads, things like that. But if you stumble upon drama that may have to do with someone's real life and that's not something that interests you, then do your part and pull away from that content. I do it all the time. I'll tune in to a video and 40 seconds in, I realize, you know what? This isn't what I need. This isn't what I expected. Some of them I give them a chance and I'll slide it to another minute in the video to see if they get to the point that I'm looking for. And if not, then oh well, it was my bad call on my part. But for you to take the time to leave a message or a comment to the creator and be like, this was absolutely stupid and useless, that to me, I see it as a reflection of yourself having a poor character. It's not the creator's fault. I thought I would ramble about that because social media is not going anywhere, and I don't think that oversharing is bad. I think it becomes bad if it is presented as just plain old drama. But if you're able to take a piece of an incident and you're like, well, I got in a fight with my manager and it was over this, and this is what he was saying, but this is the point that I was trying to make and he wasn't understanding it and it infuriated me, and this is why, and this is what the company says, and I think this isn't fair, and this and that, that becomes a more open-ended discussion. I can be like, okay, I'm sharing this with you guys because maybe I don't understand where he is coming from because I don't have the eyes of a manager. He does. I only have the eyes of the subordinate. So is there anyone out there who has experience going through something similar? What was the accord that you arrived at? What were you able to achieve? What did you learn? What were you not able to achieve? What do you wish you would have done differently? Things like that. To me, that is not oversharing. To me, that is opening a door to an opportunity of receiving feedback from an unlikely source that may ultimately help you solve something. But I think that some people just want everything to be served to them perfectly. Like, oh, word for word, I know what you're saying. And I'm so glad that this video served as a real life tutorial on how to go about this conversation with someone in my life. And I'm like, no. You don't need a tutorial about a tutorial. You need to do wonders with whatever tool you have already. And then consider other options. Look at this as an option, not as the end all be all. That's stupid.